Exactly 1 year ago today, I wanted to end my life. It seems crazy to say that because so much has changed, but I was ready. I had ideas and I wasn't really going to go through with it. But the pain of living was destroying me. And it came upon me really suddenly, but it wasn't unexpected. And what I want to do is just talk about what happens when cancer and grief and depression collide. Because as a doctor, I never understood the impact of cancer on someone's mental health. And I didn't know what grief was like until I lost both my parents in 18 months. And I have a history of depression. I first got depressed when I was back at medical school in my late teens, early 20s. And I had quite a stormy journey. I was almost manic depressive, side effects of tablets, severe depression, and then anxiety. And I've been suicidal twice before, and though that was as a consultant surgeon. And you can read more about that in my memoir if you like. But what I want to do is talk about what happened a year ago today. And it was the first Christmas without both my parents. So my mum had died 18 months before. She, oh bless her, she broke her arm, and we discovered that the whole of her right arm, her humerus, was just bone cancer, a really aggressive osteosarcoma, bone cancer, and it had spread. And she had her arm amputated. She was only 74. She called herself the one-armed bandit. Oh, she was incredible. She'd put really funny stuff on Twitter to make her followers laugh. And she smiled and she was cheery throughout, but really, really struggling. An awful phantom limb pain, feeling that her arm was there and sore when it wasn't. It was really weird. But she died only 3 months into chemotherapy, and it wasn't a pleasant death. And as a daughter and a doctor and a cancer patient, it was really, really hard for me to watch Mum die. And it wasn't the beautiful, peaceful deaths that we read about when the family are all around and someone just takes their last soft, sweet breath. It was the complete opposite, and it was shit, and I struggled, and I'm still having therapy to help with that. But she died a couple of weeks before Christmas in 2022. And then the next year we had a Christmas with Dad, and it was really, really bittersweet. But, you know, we looked after him, and he was starting to lose his memory. He was a very proud man. He'd been a GP, and he'd got a little bit of early dementia. And then in 2023, let me get my memory right. Yeah, Dad died. We'd been away on holiday for Father's Day, and I couldn't get hold of him, and my cleaner found him. And he'd had a heart attack making breakfast, and he just face planted in the kitchen, and she found him lying on the floor face down in a pile of blood because he'd hit his face. And he was gone 18 months later. And last year was the first Christmas without both my parents. And we had Christmas with my brother. He lives in Switzerland, and we went somewhere neutral. So there'd be no memories of what we used to do here or there. And it was mainly lovely, but just this grief just built up. The pain of living without them and having to carry on without them and not being able to talk to them or hold them. And I can't remember my mum before she broke her arm, before she got cancer. All the memories of my mum are of her being ill. It's like she's disappeared, and people say she'll come back in time. My memory just needs to process it. But that grief was really hard. On top of that, I was getting a bit stressed. I'm normally a stressful person, that's me. It was coming up to the launch of my book, The Cancer Roadmap, that was happening in January, and I had got busier and busier. I was trying to keep my podcast going. So now I've got breast cancer. Quick plug there. I don't know why I said that. But the podcast going and doing videos on YouTube and then putting stuff out on Instagram. And I was doing talks, and I was so busy, I didn't have time for me. And that was my way of pretending to cope, forgetting what was going on. And I knew it was depression. I knew I was just covering, and one day I'd hit rock bottom. But I didn't think I was that low yet. And on top of that, I was dealing with my cancer. So I had breast cancer in 2015 when I was 40, and it came back locally in my chest wall, the tissues underneath my armpit, and that was in 2018. And then it came back in 2023 after my dad had died. No, I lie. After mum had died, dad was still alive. And that was on the skin of my mastectomy. So I'd had a local recurrence, and the side effects of one of the drugs I was on were horrible. And I've talked about how bad they were in these 2 videos this year. I made the decision to stop one of the tablets that's potentially keeping me alive because I couldn't tolerate the side effects. But I then had that. I hadn't done that at the time in last year. So a year ago, I was struggling with a really painful mouth and ulcers, and I'd lost my sense of taste, and everything hurt, and I was miserable, and I couldn't see me spending the next 20, 30, 40 years of my life not being able to enjoy food and having constant burning pain in my tongue. And you combine that with depression and the grief of losing 2 parents very suddenly in very different circumstances. And I didn't want to live. The pain of the daily pain of living and carrying all that emotion was killing me. And I thought I'd rather not be here because then I won't be in pain. I did not know how to cope, and I didn't know what to do. And it was a really scary feeling because I'd had Christmas with a family and I was doing my best to, be happy and smile. And yes, I had quiet moments, but we took the ferry back and it hit me. And I remember telling my husband at night, I'm not safe. I'm really, really not safe. And it's the 30th of December. What are you meant to do? But I rang my GP surgery and I told them, I said, I think I want to kill myself. And they said, right, come in. And this wonderful woman gave me an emergency appointment. And she said, look, take all the time you need. And I must have been there for half an hour. And I felt so bad because other people were waiting, but she was amazing. I blurted out all the dark, deep, painful, scary thoughts in my head. What I thought about doing, what I wanted to do. My confidence had gone, my self-confidence. I thought so little of myself. I just thought I'm worthless. And that's the depression talking. And then the fear of cancer coming back and not being able to live without my mum, and I can't hug her anymore, and she can't give me a hug. And my husband's great, but it's not the same. It's not my mum. And she said, right, I'm going to double your antidepressants and I'm going to get you counselling appointment and assessment tomorrow. And I want you to go home and I want you to talk to your husband and I want you to come up with a safety plan. And I did that. And I've used Staying Alive, the brilliant, brilliant website. I have the app on my phone. It tells me what to do, who I can call, how to be safe. And I'll put a link in the caption and a link to the website because they're brilliant. They've saved me twice before. And on New Year's Eve, I got an emergency appointment to be assessed to decide, did I need counselling? Did I need to be admitted? Was I a risk to myself? And I can't believe it happened. I know generally mental health care in the NHS is really bad and the wait is very, very long. And it turns out the wait to be seen to get therapy could be another 2 or 3 months. But the fact that someone saw me the next day to say, was I safe? Was I at risk? I cannot tell you. And you feel a fraud going in. You think, I'm fine, really. I'm just making it up. But they sat and they listened to me for an hour and they said, I'm not surprised. You're feeling suicidal. And that relief, it's not me. I'm not making it up. And it's okay to feel like I feel with everything that I've had to cope with. It's like, because you think people cope with far worse, and people in war-torn areas of the world and people who've lost babies and people got metastatic cancer. And what right do I have to be depressed or why is it so painful? I should be fine, but I shouldn't be anything. You just feel what you feel. And they were great. And my GP saw me 2 or 3 times a week for the next 2 or 3 weeks just to check in. She weighed me because when I get depressed, I stop eating. She said, are you eating? What's your weight? How do you feel? What do we need to do? And I cannot tell you just knowing people care, complete strangers care, and they want you to live, and they want you to come out of the pain, the black hole you're in, and find a way through. And at the time, I couldn't see it. I couldn't see the point. But I did. Day by day, I did. And I felt awful because I had to cancel a load of the promo for my book, which I've been working on for the last 2 years, and cancelling talks. And I felt so guilty for letting people down, because you're a doctor, you go in when you're hungover, you go in when you're stressed, you work, you cope, you make it happen. But I couldn't. And I knew I had to look after my mental health and treat it like cancer. I was sick, and it wasn't my fault. I was just sick. And people were incredible at understanding and letting me rearrange and just do what I felt I needed to. I can't tell you. Because when you have to call your agent and say, I'm sorry, I can't do this. I don't know whether I can do all of this because I don't want to live. And you feel so silly. But it's not silly. It's the reality of mental health problems, severe depression. And I think it's a roller coaster that I will be on for the rest of my life. I know it is. And it's a constant challenge for me to learn that I have to look after myself. I have to protect the non-negotiables. And that's part of what I talk about when I talk on stage about how to cope when curveballs hit you. Because for years as a surgeon, I gave up everything I used to enjoy doing. Singing and swimming and hobbies and choir, you name it, because it was all about work. And when you get cancer and your job is taken away from you, there's nothing there. You don't have that network of hobbies or friends to fall back on because it's just been work. And I now realize I need to look after myself. I need to develop things that I enjoy, that bring me joy, and friendships in a community, and get that network so they can keep me at an even keel instead of living here. And then when something bad happens, you've got nowhere to go. Whereas if I'm up here, I've got a bit of bounce, I've got a bit of wiggle room, and I'm getting there. It's this time of year when everyone says how amazing the year was, and look at me, and I've done this and this and this and this and this, and aren't I great? And I hate those posts because I get jealous. Look at all the success they've had, and I've worked my arse off, I don't have half of it. And part of me says, I don't want to see it. I don't care. It's been a really shit year. What happened this year? My dog had cancer. My beautiful Cocker Spaniel Hunter got anal gland cancer that spread to his lymph nodes, and he had surgery to remove it. And he didn't need chemo, but he probably won't be here this time next year. And we don't talk about our failures. I'd much rather people say, this is what went wrong for me in 2025 or 2026. And this is what I've learned. Let's be open and honest and talk about the shit stuff, because everyone has shit stuff. We need to show the real. We really, really do. And say it's okay. People are failing every day. Things I haven't done this year, goals I set that I haven't made because I was being unrealistic. And I don't make New Year's resolutions. I don't sign up to sporting events because I can't let myself down. I'm just trying to do what I need to do. And that's eating right. And I'm back in the gym because I like feeling strong. And I know that can reduce the risk of my cancer coming back. And it's trying to find peace. And there's 3 things that I've done that have helped that I want to share with you. And for me, it's a garden. And I'm lucky to have a garden. It's a huge garden, and it takes forever to weed and tend and look after, but I've got an incredible gardener who's become a close friend, and we are making borders and planting plants, and there's colour and there's scent, and I've got wild ducks and birds, and just being in the garden and looking and seeing my plants grow. I love that. And I'm planning to plant a load of seeds next spring to make dye, because the next thing I did was I bought a spinning wheel. My mum used to have one, and I never saw her use it, but I did a spinning course on an alpaca farm in Norfolk. It was incredible. And I then found a wheel on eBay, and I bought it, and I've got a spinning wheel, and I'm getting yarn, and I'm going to spin it and make wool, and then I'm going to dye it. And there's something prehistoric isn't the word. I'm having a mental health thing. There's something just Is it full circle about getting fleece from a sheep and then combing it and spinning it to make yarn, to then dye it from plants, to then knit something? I just like that slow, just the process of doing things with no time limit. And then I bought a beach hut, and it's about an hour away, and just going there and hearing the sea. And again, I don't work there. I just sit, I write, I knit, and trying to protect a part of my day every day for me, to be a bit more, not selfish, but self-ish, because we have to. No one else is going to look after us. It's like, this is going to sound crazy because I'm a grown woman of 51. I live near a rare breeds farm, and you can go and pet the baby goats and the pygmy goats and the little pigs and feed them. And I love it more than my grandchildren. And they do a Highland cow experience. And I hinted to my husband that that could be a cool gift to give me for Christmas. And he ignored me, of course. But I've bought it myself. I am going to spend a morning with a Highland cow. Mum loved the Highland coos. They're just so cute. I'm going to feed it and groom it and stroke it. And then I'm going to have an afternoon tea with scones and cream and jam. And I think it's fabulous. It's going to be such fun. And I think it's doing these little things. You see, I can't stop smiling when I think about it. To just have little things to look forward to, and those moments to try and treat yourself and look after yourself. I know the grief will always be there, and it's partly why I'm one of the ambassadors for the Good Grief Trust, because we need to talk about it, and we need to accept that it can just come out of nowhere and hit you like a bolt in the blue. God, if I hear one of the songs from Mum's funeral, I'm in buckets. And Chris Rea died a couple of days ago, and his song September Blue was played at Mum and Dad's funeral. And it's the most beautiful, poignant, sad song that just has me crying. But sometimes you just need that. You need a song that can just get the emotion out. And I stopped comparing my grief to other people. There's no right or wrong way of doing it. I just have to go through the grief of both my parents in different ways. And I'm trying to deal with the fear of my cancer coming back. I'm at 10 years from my first diagnosis. I've had 2 local recurrences. I'll probably get another. I hope I don't. It's out of my control. I just need to try and live the best I can and look after myself. And I think it's really important to come on and share our vulnerable moments, the reality of life, that it's not all wonderful, but there is a way through. I was never serious about actually ending my life. It was just the pain. I didn't know how to handle the pain in my head. And what I needed was therapy. And a friend recommended an incredible woman, and we meet virtually every week. And that hour is just, I can't tell you. I often go in thinking I'm going to talk about this. I end up talking about something completely different. But for me, it's having someone anonymous that I can dump all my shit on. She's not going to judge me. And she's not going to tell me off if I don't do my homework. And I don't need to worry about how she feels when I finish the session. Because I'd worry about talking to my husband or my brother like that, because they'll feel awful when they hear what I have to say. And just slowly working through issues and unpicking them, and where did that come from, and what can you do there, and how can you help yourself. It's been really, really good. And I think it's something I'm going to keep up. I see her once or twice a month now instead of every week, because I'm in a stronger place, but I know she's there, and it's okay to have therapy because it's a treatment for my depression. And that's fine, and I don't feel guilty about it, and I'm not embarrassed about it. It is the medical help I need. And I wish I'd had it sooner. I wish I'd started it from the day I was diagnosed with cancer. I think it would have helped an awful lot. But it's helped me work through dealing with Mum's death as a daughter and a doctor and a cancer patient, and getting rid of the guilt and the regret and thinking I did things wrong, and actually learning to big myself up and realize what I have achieved and what I am capable of, and actually learn to blow my own trumpet. So maybe I should do it. 2026 was wonderful. Look at what's happened to me. But that's not me. It's not me. I want to be real. And so if this has helped you at all, it's helped you realize that you're not alone or that you need to get help, please post something in the comments. Let me know. I'll put links in the captions to places you can go to get support. And the next video I'll put up is one that kind of goes through my breast cancer story. Go back and look at what I've been through. Feel free to ask me anything. And thank you for giving me your time to trust me to take you through my depression journey.